This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people.
Just in case you missed our last video yesterday on Mother's Day, I hope all you fantastic mothers had a wonderful day. I hope you were spoiled as you deserve. President Trump announced the most landmark breakthrough policy, I think, in my entire lifetime. Some of you would agree, a policy that is going to save millions, if not more, Americans. Not only a ton of money, but it's going to save millions of American lives by finally going after the price gouging, profiteering lobby of big pharma and reducing prices for medications, literally just making them fair. I'm going to show you a chart in a second. Fair prices so we don't have to pay 300, 600, 700% more than the rest of the world. And lifelong iconic Democrat Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gave, you just saw a snippet there, an unbelievably emotional tribute attacking and going after the hypocrites. I call them the hypocrites because their hypocrisy knows no bounds. If you're new here, Bernie Sanders and the rest of the lobby. This is the most consequential executive order any president in my entire lifetime has ever enforced.
It's called most favored nation. We are going to pay the lowest price there is in the world. We will get whoever is paying the lowest price. That's the price that we're going to get. So remember that. So we're no longer paying 10 times more than another country. Whoever is paying the lowest price, we will look at that price and we will say that's the price we're going to pay. Most favored nations. That's what it is. One breast cancer drug costs Americans over $16,000 per bottle, but the same drug from the same factory, manufactured by the same company, is 1/6 that price in Australia and 1/10 that price in Sweden. 1/10 for the identical product. A common asthma drug costs almost $500 here in America, but costs less than $40 in the United Kingdom. So $40 in the United Kingdom, which is where this gentleman told me he paid a small amount for his shot. But think of that. So $40 versus $500 here. But starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what, for the same drug, that what we pay many, many times more for. And we'll no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from big pharma. But again, it was really the countries that forced big pharma to do things that, frankly, I'm not sure they really felt comfortable doing. But they've gotten away with it, these countries. European Union has been brutal. And the drug companies actually told me stories. It was just brutal how they forced them. And European Union suing all our companies, Apple, Google, Meta. They're suing all of our companies. They end up, they have judges that are European Union-centric, and they get rewarded $15 billion, $17 billion, $20 billion, and they use that to run their operation. Not going to happen any longer, that I can tell you. Here's the bill. Bobby, come on over here. Now you're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars. Thank you very much, everybody.
America, this is going to take effect immediately. You're going to save 50 to 70, in some cases 80 to 90% on prescription medications. This is unprecedented, never before happened, even though the hypocrites have been saying they were going to do this forever. Stick around. I'm going to share with you some early clips of Bernie Sanders, who RFK Jr. calls out in his moving, emotional tribute that I'm about to share with you. Get your Kleenexes ready. This is one of the most powerful, moving, raw, authentic, maybe the most powerful speech of 2025 thus far. Watch this.
This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator on Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry too. I think they gave you $100 million. Yeah. But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies. We spend in our country $1,126 per capita on drugs. In Britain, they spend about $240. They spend 1/5 of what we do. And this is true across Europe. And the drug companies, Europeans, if you ask them, it made no sense what they were saying. Well, America has to pay for this innovation or it's not going to happen. What President Trump is saying to our European partners is you got to raise the amount that you're paying for those drugs and pay for your share of the innovation. That the United States is no longer subsidizing that. If the Europeans raise the price of their drugs by just 20%, that is $10 trillion that can be spent on innovation, and the health of all people all across the globe is going to increase because we're going to have better products. So I'm just so grateful to be here today. I never thought that this would happen in my lifetime. I have a couple of kids who are Democrats, are big Bernie Sanders fans. And when I told them that this was going to happen, they had tears in their eyes because they thought this is never going to happen in our lifetime. And we finally have a president who's willing to stand up for the American people.
Lifelong Democrat, icon of the Democratic Party. You know, I've said this many, many times. I'm not right or left. If anything, if I had to define myself, I would define myself as a constitutional centrist. I love America. And I think Trump has revolutionized politics. The common sense revolution. I mean, the mission statement of our channel, make common sense viral. That's exactly what this is. President Trump has done more in the past literally 48-hour holiday weekend than these radical, extreme, anti-American, communist, terrorist-supporting Democrats have done in their entire abysmal careers. We're talking some of these guys like Bernie have been around for 50, 60 years plus. He's done more in 48 hours. He brokered a deal with China. He brokered a negotiations to release American hostages. He negotiated a ceasefire between Pakistan and India. He negotiated another a ceasefire with the Houthis in Iran, another deal that's in the works. And now this, the most consequential legislation in literally, I can honestly say in my entire lifetime. This is going to have more of an impact ever. And everything that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said, everything Bobby said was absolutely 100% verifiably true. I've done the research. If you missed my video yesterday, I showed the chart of the exorbitant disparities that Americans are paying versus the rest of the world. But here's a chart I want to share with you right now. Okay, the first chart at the top of your screen is Biden's abysmal drug price deal. You can see the different drugs there and the percentage price negotiated by this awful, ridiculous regime that was probably governed by an auto pen. Whoever controlled the auto pen controlled the presidency. It's literally, I would say, the most historically magnified scandal in American history. It's needs to be investigated. I mean, we still don't know if President Biden was even aware that he dropped out. But look at the different drugs there, and you can see the percentage rates. Jardiance, we're looking at 289%. But you can see these different drugs on the horizontal axis, and then the exorbitant percentages that Americans are paying far above the global average. It's just absolutely nuts. And that's just a simple taste. Okay, and look at this. This is the lobbying donations that health and pharmaceutical companies and manufacturers have given to these ridiculous hypocrites. And look who's at the top of the list. That's right. Good old Bernie, $23 million. You can see Pocahontas there coming in at third, $10 million. Doesn't that explain everything? The oligarchy tour. You're damn skipping. Now watch what's going to happen. It's in their playbook, as they always do. You're going to see the hypocrite propaganda media shower all over their networks all sorts of lies about this amazing deal that Trump just launched. And here, I want to share this clip of Bernie Sanders back in 2016 when he was running for president. The Democrats threw him under the bus. Remember that? Listen to him here talk about prescription drugs and what Americans are paying. The hypocrisy knows no bounds.
We pay in this country the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Maybe, just maybe, it might be time for the United States Senate to stand up to the pharmaceutical industry and all of their lobbyists here and all of their campaign contributions and say we're going to stand with the American people who are sick and tired of being ripped off by the drug companies.
What a putz. What took you so long, Bernie? That was only 9 years ago. He's been saying this for like 30, 40 years, by the way. What happened, Bernie? Well, if you paid attention to that chart I just showed you prior, proof is in the pudding. They bought you off because you, Bernie, are a paid-for shill working for the Democrats, just like the rest of your harangue.
One of the most pressing challenges facing our country and working families is the rising costs of prescription drugs. Drug prices clearly are out of control. We've all heard the horror stories of families having to choose between paying for necessary medications like insulin or paying the mortgage, the rent, or putting food on the table. So Americans shouldn't have to pay many times more what people in other countries pay.
Just like the Democrat playbook, all talk, zero action. They are paid shills, lobbied, bought, and paid for by big pharma. They don't mean a word of it. They don't care about you. They don't give a rat's ass about me or any of us. They just never want to hold a real job ever in their lives because what they're doing is a complete farce. To quote Bobby Kennedy, President Trump is a man of his word. I don't think President Trump is right or left either. I think he is creating a revolution of common sense, and we are with you, Mr. President. And real doctors are behind this. Real medical practitioners are behind this. Check this out.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the many doctors I've talked to about this very issue, thank you for taking the bull by the horns. Presidents on both sides of the aisle have talked about this and floated it and said they've wanted to do it, so you've had the courage to do it. Thank you. I've been a surgical oncologist at Johns Hopkins for 22 years, and I have seen patients suffer. We didn't take an oath to heal patients and then watch their life get ruined financially with their home, mortgage, retirement, going down the drain with GoFundMe campaigns, raising money from church communities and synagogues and friends they haven't seen in 20 years to try to raise money. For what? For a system where Americans have been getting ripped off by 10, 12, 15 times higher prices than we see in other countries? The fundamental problem in healthcare is that we've had non-competitive markets.
And we can do little things around the edges, or we can transform those markets to competitive markets. And that's what this executive order does today. Imagine buying a Ford for $175,000, a regular car, and then hearing that people in London are buying it for $10,000 every day, all day long. That is the craziness of this system. We're going to do everything we can at the FDA to support this executive order. It's transformative. Thank you, Mr. President.
That's a pretty good analogy with the Ford. I mean, you know, we don't think of it in those terms. It's a good perspective. I want to ask you guys, how many of you have been impacted financially, personally, professionally, through the exorbitant costs of everyday medication, prescription, pharmaceuticals, etc.? Let me know in the comments down below. I can tell you, and I posted this on my channel, my story when I had, if you can see this big scar right here, I had osteomyelitis in my right elbow from an accident that I had, which cost me 4 or 5 unneeded surgeries, tens of thousands of dollars in medication, all medication that I probably could have saved, 80 to 75% of that money wasted because of this insane system that Dr. Makari, the FDA commissioner, who was a surgical oncologist at Johns Hopkins, you heard him, highly credible, and he vouches for many, many doctors who are in favor of this. I can't imagine if you're a doctor. Not only do I want to hear from you if you've had problems personally as a patient, how about any doctors out there? I know we got a lot of doctors that watch this show. Let me know in the comments how many times. I mean, that's got to be troubling for doctors who have a healthy conscience, at least, to see your patients have to put out a second mortgage, to see your patients max out all their credit cards, go into insane amounts of debt, maybe asking for unreasonable rates on borrowing money from friends or institutions, et cetera, et cetera. How does that feel as a physician? I would love to hear from you as well. This is groundbreaking. This is what I voted for. This is what the American people voted for. And I'm so proud. I'm so happy. We're so lucky, America. We got balls back in the White House. We're so lucky, America. We have somebody who is governed by providence. I truly believe that in every fiber of my being. We're so lucky, America. This guy has all the money in the world. He doesn't need money. He can't be bought and paid for. He's doing this for one reason and one reason only: legacy and America, period. I feel it in the marrow of my bones, and his actions, what he's done in just the first 100 days, proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Right now, if you love America, tap the thumbs up. It takes you a second, doesn't cost you a thing, but it has exorbitant weight on our channel. So tap that thumbs up. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here, just in case you missed them. Tap my face right there to subscribe and follow. Our newsletter is also in the pinned comment description. Free, sign up for that. And as always, may God bless you, and may God bless the USA and all who defend her. I'll see you soon.